pony knowledge by. Oh, better. I got a place where winning ain't tough to do. You wanna be cool, stable too. Your horse racing fantasy comes true. But no, Stable Duel.
Download the Stable Duel app and play today.
April the 29th, 2022. We are just 1 week out from the Oaks, from the Derby. Fellas, we've made it here. This is that important time of the year, and usually there's a couple of like sleepy weeks heading into the Derby. No. You know, we make the transition from Keeneland closing day today. We'll be talking about the final day of the meet at Keeneland, and then you move into Churchill Downs opening up tomorrow. And for us right here, where we talk about Stable Duel, Saturday at Santa Anita after a week and a half off, they have some big races. Saturday at Golden Gate, they have some incredible races. The Grade 3 San Francisco Mile is a field of 14 that is as good of a race as you'll find anywhere all weekend long. I'm very happy to be back with my good friends, Matt DeSantis, Barry Spears, the Sniper. Fellas, a beautiful Friday morning for you. Hope everybody's doing well. Maddie, how's mom doing?
She's doing well, up and moving around, walking. It's amazing. They just like slap a new knee inside you and push you out the door. And she's making it around great. So she's doing well. Thank you for asking. I appreciate it.
Awesome stuff, Matt. And we've been really proud of what you've been doing with your 20 for 20 movement throughout the last 20 days leading up to the Kentucky Derby. Just really great stuff over there, man. Awesome stuff. Barry, helping me out last week. Barry, we saw the ball well. We knocked a couple out into the outfield, and you know we're always going to be here doing our best. This is the no chalk zone, my man. How you doing this Friday morning?
Doing great, man. And, you know, every Friday it's fantastic to be on here with you guys and you know talking about some races for the weekend and making some money. I mean, absolutely. What else did you want?
Right?
As a horse player,
yeah.
I'm going through some like excited emotions right now because I posted my 300th episode of That's What G Said podcast yesterday. I started that up about 3 years ago. For me, that was kind of a scary undertaking because I was someone who worked at TVG. I could have been set there for the rest of my life with a really nice, comfy, cozy job, but just the way that it was like, you know, we talk about sports with a sports team, new coaches, new management. Sometimes you just don't feel doesn't work, right? For some whatever reason that it is. And that's kind of where I was. I was young. I was starting to get a little bit unhappy with what I was doing every single day. And it wasn't the work. It was just sort of the situation. And it's kind of scary to go out on your own. Social media can be toxic, but you know what I got to do through social media? Meet some good friends. This is really cool, right? Yep. I get to interact with some of my buddies every single week, and I've met a lot of really great people. So enough emotional stuff for me right off the bat. Let's jump into some of today's racing. Here's a look at the schedule for this weekend. Closing day at Keeneland, so we're going to be diving all into that. If you want to play along at Stable Duel this weekend, Friday, Keeneland, Golden Gate, Gulfstream, and Lone Star. Then on Saturday, you've got Gulfstream, Golden Gate, Santa Anita, and Woodbine. Hawthorne also joins the party there. So this weekend, if you want to play along over at Stable Duel, there are all the different options that you have. So, Maddie, I know you're going to be with us for the first half hour or so today. Where do you go on Friday for some of your plays?
Well, I like Sniper. Listen, you got to go to South Florida, man. You got to go to Gulfstream Park.
There you go. The Gulfstream Park and talk a little Gulfstream Friday. Okay, so where are we looking for Friday?
Head down there, and I don't like doing this very often, but we'll just go straight to race one.
Oh, you got it.
I always get wary of giving out picks in race one, but the one time I did, it actually worked out well. So race one at Gulfstream today is a $12,500 maiden claimer, 1 mile on dirt. Again, these are races we generally like to try to attack from a value standpoint. And I will go with the 8 Principe here. This is a little bit of a surface switch, but I think this is a horse that just provides really nice value from a speed standpoint. It's taking a slight step down in class, going from the maiden 35s, maiden 16s to a maiden 12.5. like I said, trying dirt for the first time, but I think there's a reason to be optimistic. This horse is best performances have been off turf. So running on the synthetic at Gulfstream has been where he's seemed to be most comfortable. I don't think it's that big of a leap to assume that, transitioning from the synthetic to the dirt is going to be a big deal. Also, we don't talk about Tomlinson figures very often on this show for, I think, a variety of reasons. But if you look at Tomlinson figures, this is not a turf horse. Like there, so
No.
I think that I really like the surface switch here, and I think at 10-1. This is I think a nice horse that is only going to cost you $1,000 in a race where there's nothing that really overwhelms me, and his speed figures on turf are right there with everybody else's on dirt. I think you're going to see a little bit of a perk. The trainer also does have some success in surface switches and does well on the maiden claiming circuit. So I think you combine all of those things together, and I like the value there. And if this horse was something like 6-1, I probably wouldn't recommend it. But at 10-1, I think this is a nice value play. And for $1,000, if you pick up a second or third place, I really like it. And I wouldn't be surprised if this horse wins. I mean, I think you never know how that surface change is going to affect things. But I like the 8 here, Principe.
Principe only 10-1, so just $1,000 in your stable dual lineup. Race number 1, my man Barry, you've got a couple at Gulfstream for Friday, right?
Absolutely.
Where do you want to head over?
Race 4 is the first.
Oh,
one. Yeah.
well, we might have it.
Let's see it. Are we landing together? Where do we go, Barry?
This is it's a maiden $25,000 claimer on the synthetic, which people hate. But I like because it's always exciting. Honestly, it really is, and there's always a bit of chaos that come with these kind of races. So, cheap maidens on the synthetic, it's just a recipe for something large to happen. And I ended up going with number 3, Nicolino.
Yep.
Who is basically kind of the pick, because everyone else is so bad.
Yeah.
There's
by default. Yeah.
Right. Because the horses that have run, which is pretty much everybody, don't all look that great. I mean, I'd say probably the best one out of the bunch, that have run, maybe the 7, who ran a pretty decent race at a lower level last time, which, also factors in here. Witch of Love is taking a big drop out of maiden special weight, but didn't run a step.
We don't even know how
when we
good this
last
horse
saw.
is, right?
Right. But the trainer has a good record with first time starters, about 18%. That last work on the synthetic actually kind of sealed the deal for me. There's a real steady work pattern with this horse, and then they worked him on or worked her on the synthetic on April 17th, and it was a pretty decent work in comparison to everyone else in the field. I think the one had a work that was similar on the same day, and it wasn't much faster, only 2/5 of a second faster. But this one looks okay. I mean, in comparison to everybody else, there's no knocks on this horse. I'm going to give this one a really good shot at 8-1.
This is horse has a steady tab. So this is the Dam. She won first time out. She won her first 2 starts, and then she took a shot in against Graded Stakes Company. So we know that she's precocious. She's won before previously on this was a Dam who's won on the synthetic surfaces also, which is pretty nice.
Yep.
Look at some of the siblings too. This is the Daniel Bryan. Yes, 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 for all the wrestling fans out there. So yes. Proverb is another one who was a winner. Flew by You was also a winner. John's a Fleet was also a winner. So you have all winners in the siblings. You have a Dam who was a multiple winner and who was a winner first time out of the box. What I like about a horse like this, Barry, is it just checks a lot of boxes that you're looking for in a race. Like steady work tab, capable pedigree, barn who's able to win with horses first time out. You look around and there's no other monsters in this group. Nothing scares you. You discuss the specifics of the work pattern, how it's improved a little bit. It's been steady, but then it perked up. I think they're win or lose at 8-1, 3,000 in a race like this. It's another horse who, to me, feels like they should be like 4-1. right?
Right.
Probably
Yep.
half.
I think it's going to take some action.
Yeah,
Plus the fact that I think this horse isn't going to be on the lead either. That's
yeah.
another factor too. This horse can sit behind the 4, who is actually same owner, not the same trainer. I don't know why they're not coupled, but um, it just feels like this horse is going to be in the right spot because they're going to duel up front. I think the 6 is going to go out, maybe even the 7, but there's going to be some action up front and some pace for this horse to close into. It's just a matter of this horse being good enough. And then even if this horse finishes 2nd or 3rd, you're not spending a whole lot of money.
No,
So it's just all the right elements here.
I like Nicolino, and I'm Gino Nicola Bacola. So this is
Oh, this is
basically-
natural.
This is
This
your
is right
horse.
here for
Yeah.
me. No, it's not I used to say it all the time to Simon Bray. He would love it. I would say Gino Nicola Bacola. It's not a name, it's an attitude. He would just that bust him up every single time.
I would use that all day.
I know. I get him.
I would say that all day.
And then he would say Simon was so funny because he would say it to me, but sometimes he would say it the wrong way. So like I'd walk out, he'd be sitting at Hollywood Park, and he'd be he'd be smiling when I walk up because I don't walk up with my swagger. I'm like I act like the ground I'm walking on was paved for me. Like I'm on the yellow brick road, and Simon's looking over, and he'll go, Gino Nicola Bacola. It's not an attitude, it's a name. It's like, no, you got it wrong, man. Strike that, reverse it. You got to flip that boy around, Simon. I love Simon. He's a really good dude. Shout out to Simon Bray out there. Hope he's having a great Friday morning. Let's continue on over at Gulfstream Park. Maddie, anything else over here for Gulfstream?
Well, Barry and I were on the 3 together here. This was
Worth noting. That's worth noting.
That's the double trouble. That's the double trouble play.
For many of the same reasons. It was the first time runner. The trainer has an 18% win rate with first timers, which just really pops when you look at the trainer tabs and trainer stats. And Gino, Barry, you guys know this. I go nuts when horses are able to work on the surface they're going to run on, and you see that
perf synthetic,
and,
especially if it's a unique one like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so the fact this horse just had such, because I kind of did a double take like Barry, and I went back and started looking through all of the previous works, and I was like, oh, this is marginally, like significantly better than what he's been doing on this previously. So I really like the 3. I will say I actually like the 4 a little bit as well. I think you could make an argument. I agree with Barry. There's going to be some pace in this race, but the 4 is going back from a 7 furlongs to 5. So there's a little bit of a cutback in distance there. I thought, the horse flashed some nice speed in that debut. So I think the horse will improve on that. I think shortening up will be beneficial. It's got a nice jockey in Vasquez, who's winning at a 16% clip, especially now that a lot of the big names have left, Gulfstream for Keeneland and some of the other circuits. He's one of the big jocks down there. Also, it should be noted the trainer of the 4, Pynchon, has only run 6 horses at Gulfstream Park this meet. 5 of them have finished in the money. So that's an 83% hit rate is not bad in terms of hitting and finishing in the money. And much to Barry's point about the same price as Nicolino, the 4 is also 8-1, only $3,000. So it's a relatively low investment from a dollar standpoint in Stable Duel. And even if this horse maybe does fade a little bit, finishes 2nd or 3rd, it's not the worst thing in the world. And I'll be honest, if I'm playing this, I might just even double up on the 3-4 because it's only a 9 race card. You're going to have to double up somewhere. I think these two both offer something to like. So those are kind of my other 2 plays at Gulfstream.
Nicolino and Awesome Birdie. Barry, while we're hanging at Gulfstream, you have anywhere else you want to go?
Of course.
Absolutely.
You know me. I like to connect races.
Yep.
So we're going to race
5.
Got it.
Double
cheese, baby.
I like the doubles. I like the doubles.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a start allowance for 20,000. The purse 32,000 at a mile, 1-turn mile. I ended up on number 3, Luddington. I think this horse has some races to go back to. Earlier this, or actually last year, going back to November, the race, if you look at the past performances for this horse, the December 4th race, which I was there, I saw that race. This horse didn't run a step, but kind of overmatched. So you put a line through that one. Then the last 2 are sloppy tracks,
Yep.
which this horse kind of doesn't seem to like at all.
I love horses like this, man.
Yeah, he's dirtied up. He's muddied up.
Yep.
His form is muddied up. He looks
Three of
very
the
good.
last 4 are legitimate excuses.
Right.
Yep.
Yes. And you know, he was just over his head, back in the Claiming Crown Jewel,
he
and
was
then the
going
last
mile
2 on the
and
surf.
eight,
Yes,
too,
exactly.
right? So
Just
he's
too
got
far.
multiple excuses.
So this is right where this horse is supposed to be. It's quick enough to kind of dictate his own trip. You know, doesn't have to be on the lead. Can be on the lead if nobody else goes. But can sit right behind, and that's the trip you want at a mile at Gulfstream, especially towards the inside part of the track too. I mean, there's just everything going this horse's direction, and you know, there's some speed in here, and I'm a G6 who, you know, speed figure wise or buyer speed figure wise looks a little bit better, but there is a lot of pace in here. You got the 7 in Tune In that's going to have some zip. You have a horse like Rebelled who could actually go out. I mean, the last race for this horse, he went right to the top. So there's some pace scenarios here, but this horse is going to be close enough to be in striking distance, if not on the lead, if everybody kind of falls asleep. But you know, another one, 8-1, $1,000, not much to ask, and you have a pretty good shot here.
Like this one quite a bit. And so what Barry was talking about, you know, most people when they see a horse like this, they'll look back and they'll go quickly, they got beat by 11, they got beat by 19 second, they got beat by 18, they lost to Tune In a couple times, okay, and that's it, right? Like most people will do their quick scans and they'll like, okay, I like others more. But the thing that we have to do as handicappers is, you know, I always joke, this is probably something a lot of us joke with our partners about, you know, reasons versus excuses, you know? So it's one of those things where I'm always like, no, that's a reason. That ain't no excuse. But in horse racing, as long as you got an excuse for a horse, it's a reason, right? Excuses are reasons in horse racing. So look back, if it's a surface switch, if it's a track bias, if it's a track style, if it's a race shape, there's so many reasons why we can look at a horse and go, oh, it makes sense why they didn't run very well that day. And most people are going to just be dismissive right away. Like, I didn't like them. Now I'm going to. And if you can find an excuse, I don't really care how much a horse gets beat, right? If they lose by 50 lengths because they had to pull up and then they just get taken up, it doesn't bother me at all if I think they can fit in the next spot that they're in. So good find from the sniper there. Gulfstream Friday. Do we have anything else for Friday Gulfstream?
I do not.
Okay, let's head on over to Keeneland. Matt, you got Friday Keeneland?
Yeah, I got 2 plays at Keeneland for Friday.
Cool. I'll be rocking and rolling Keeneland Friday, and then a little Saturday Santa Anita and some Saturday Golden Gate. So let's get to Keeneland for Friday. Maddie, tell us where you want to head for Friday at Keeneland. Also, I wanted to give a big shout out to our friends over at DRF, Daily Racing Forum, right now. If you want to get ahead and start looking at the handicapping the Kentucky Derby, they have packages out. You can purchase the Advanced Kentucky Derby past performances, so you can start looking at those, and then when the rest of the entries come out, boom, you'll already have the credit right there for you. You can go get them, so you can get ahead on your Derby handicapping. Then when the rest of the card comes out, you'll already be all set up. Shout out to Daily Racing Forum, DRF. We're diving into these past performances. We're looking at the Formulator PPs. And which race are we going to look at today, Maddie, for Keeneland?
So let's start off by going to race 6, which is a $120,000 allowance, which is a mile and an eighth.
We got the Kona Gold at Santa Anita tomorrow for $100,000. The graded stakes Kona Gold, right? It's like, I'm going to ship my horse to Keeneland and run an allowance race for $120,000. Right. How's that?
Yeah, I mean, hell, they got $100,000 maiden special weight on this card. So you know, yeah. So so let's go to race 6, and I'm going to, I think the 4 Credibility offers something to like here. This is, I think, a very classy horse that is, I think, kind of at probably the right level now, running in kind of that allowance level, kind of stepped up to stakes.
I wish you would have told me either of the last 2 times that I used Credibility, Matt.
Yeah, I know. And I even thought of you when I was like, oh, Gina's going to go nuts when I talk.
You're right. No, this is just a much. See, I couldn't do it because I was like, these guys are going to think I'm Javonica and again over here if I keep going to this court. But I think this is a much better spot. And from like a pick 4, pick 5 standpoint, this feels like a really good horse to use today.
Yeah, and so I think this horse will be better served if the 3 Bochambo takes the lead, which I assume it will. I mean, it's a sprint horse, and
Mhm.
so and credibility last time out tried to go to the lead, just got tired and worn out. So I think sitting off pace is going to work out a lot better. I also, no shade at anyone, but I think there's a little bit of a jockey uptick too with Gaffleone on aboard. I just Tyler is just
Yeah,
riding so well right now between
absolutely.
Gulfstream and Keeneland. And so like that a lot. And yeah, like I said, I just think this is a horse that's going to be better served sitting behind that
Absolutely.
pace, at the right level. This is a horse that's placed in graded stakes competition. And I think the speed figures are right there. We'll be able to handle the distance. And so I just think this is I know it's a horse we've talked about plenty before, but I just think this is a great spot for it. And the fact you're still getting 8-1
Yep,
is actually kind of surprising. I
I
think and
agree.
this horse is going to take on money,
Yep.
but from a stable duel standpoint, I'll gladly only pay $3,000 for this horse in this race. I think that's a nice play because you look at like Bloodline at 5-2. I don't see the huge difference between Bloodline and credibility. So
No.
that's kind of one of my plays for stable duel.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing with Bloodline is if you don't acknowledge him, Roman Reigns, he's gonna give you a Superman punch or two, man. That's the head of the Bloodline. That's Roman. That's the big dog over on SmackDown. Uh, I'm going to Xavier Dave here on the outside.
Oh yeah,
He's 8-1. He's 3,000, and it's pretty simple with him. He just really perked up when he went long on the turf.
yeah.
His turf races. You look at his 5.5 furlong turf sprint. So it was coming off of a little bit of a layoff. He didn't run from the end of October to the end of February. So probably needed that race. And they looked at it and went, yeah, okay, maybe 5.5 furlongs. The trip, he was wide. It just drew down towards the inside. Didn't work out all that well. March the 25th, things change completely here for Xavier Dave. Sits a much better trip. Gets out of the gate comfortably within a few lengths. He was 4th, and you look back, it was a big field, too. It was a field of 10, and he absolutely dusted that group. And maybe this horse just wanted to go long on the turf forever. I think Barry, I know we talked about this race back in October that he ran at Keeneland with Vivar and Speaking Scout and Britain's
Yes.
Kitten. I remember that
No,
field.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. And he didn't run poorly that day. And that was a race that was, taken off the turf where he flashed a little bit of speed going longer. Now he's going to go third start of the form cycle. I think Xavier Dave's got a good shot in here at 8-1. So similar races that we target, Matt. What's, that common denominator, right? Vulnerable favorites. You and I both have 8-1 shots in here.
Yep, absolutely. It's about identifying races where you can go cheap and or go inexpensive. I'm sorry,
Yep.
Barry gave me that note earlier. Go inexpensive. And yeah, I mean, so I think that's great. I mean, I think I like it when we actually identify the same races and go in different directions because I think it gives the people some choices to make who are listening, and they go, oh, well, at least what do I like Gino's pick more? Do I like Matthews or Barry's pick more? It doesn't matter. Bottom line is attack that race.
You know what?
in some
I'll play
way.
a pick 3 and I'll use them both. How about that? Right?
Exactly. Exactly.
That's what I do.
Right? Yeah. I can't tell you
That's what I
guys
do.
how many times I've been helped by one of your guys' horses that's helped me in the middle of just like that, a pick 3 or pick 4. I was like, yeah, you know what? This was a race where I was going to spread out a little bit. I'm throwing in their 10-1 shot also. And that's what's great. You gotta look at what everyone's giving out, handicap the handicappers, and find some of the great prices that they're dishing out. So while we're at Keeneland, I will go back in time a little bit. I have something in the third. Does anybody
Me
have
too.
in the third for you too?
Yes,
Nice.
sir.
Okay, let's go race 3. Barry, where are we looking for you?
I'm going with number 1 Canary here for this maiden claimer, 7 furlongs, for 30,000. Now, this horse had been out for a while, just really spotty, debuted in 2020 in November, didn't run again until June 2021, and steadily improving. But the fact that this horse is coming back again quickly, or relatively quickly in comparison to the other races, is a really good sign, especially after showing speed dropping in class. So I mean, I know you guys do this with me every Friday, but many of the people out there may not know that I appreciate the angle second time at a level, especially off a layoff.
Hmm.
And that's exactly what this horse is doing. Even though it was on the synthetic at Turfway, I like the speed that was shown there. The surface switch, I like the post position, because if this was 6, I wouldn't like this horse.
Yeah.
But at 7 on the rail doesn't really matter as much. Plus, this horse is going to get out. I don't think the horses outside of her, the 2 or the 3, have the same kind of zip. So this one's going to be in the right spot, whether it's on the lead or slightly off the pace, like, sitting second. This one's going to be tough to beat, I think.
Yes.
There's not much in here. The horse to the outside, Wilhelmina, doesn't look all that great, even though that one's dropping in. The first-time starters don't look all that spectacular either. The only horse that kind of scares me a little bit is Sleepless Dream, but I just don't think this horse is fit for this race here. So, it's just all directions are pointing towards Canary here in the third.
Canary is in early pick 5s, early pick 4s, but I'm actually going to go to a horse that Barry doesn't. This horse makes me laugh. Doesn't this every time I see the name of this horse I feel like I'm supposed to say, "See you next Tuesday," right? When this horse is like, somebody was creative with the name here, and I'm actually going to go to Wilhelmina. Now, I just don't think the race is that strong.
It isn't.
And
It
that's
really
the thing
isn't.
is that for like a measuring stick, Wilhelmina at 5,000 at 6-1, she comes out of that Mercy Warren race, and that's been a decent race so far because Mercy Warren came back to win by 7, and
My buddy Emerald,
Yeah.
last week, who crushed and who won by 5. So she comes out of a pretty live race. She was 4th there behind a couple next out winners. Nobody in here scares the heck out of me. And that race was actually on and off track. So her debut race, which was a little bit better, was on a fast track. Then in career start number 2, she hooks a track that's a little bit off, and maybe she just can't really make up ground late, and the wheels start spinning, and it's a race that's pretty live, and the winner wins kind of handily. So I feel like it's not a bad spot for Wilhelmina, as Barry mentioned too. It's not a strong race, so I wouldn't want to take a really short price on anyone, and she's right at that stable dual average of what you need. I'll take Wilhelmina, and we both attack race number 3 because we just don't like any of the shorter price horses. They seem pretty vulnerable, and I don't really think anyone's going to be all that short. Like, if this horse takes a lot of money, no thanks. Like, they could beat me, and anyone else feels like there should be a bunch of 5-1 kind of shots in here, Barry.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. And it's, the way I see this race is whoever gets to the lead is going to be awfully tough.
Yeah.
And that's basically where the gamble for me lies in number 1, is that I think this horse is just going to get to the lead. There's really not much in here.
No.
I mean, if there's ever a time to beat chalk, this is definitely the race.
This is the one. So while we're hanging at Keeneland for Friday, I've got to play in the 5th. Anyone having anything in the 4th?
Of course. I
Double up.
always connecting races, man.
You got to connect those bad boys. Where are we going? Race number 4, mile and a 16th on the turf course.
I am going to number 7, Tangled Emotions, and I went really back and forth on this in this race because, again, another one, a race worth a lot of money that doesn't look all that great.
Yeah.
They're running for $100,000 purse, and these horses aren't really that good. The ones that have run more than once.
Feel like one of those Keeneland maiden special weights.
No, not the ones you get like on the first weekend.
Yeah.
When they're unveiling all their special ones, but
Mm-hmm.
This one might be a little bit more productive, although on paper they don't really all look that good. The horses that have run more than once just don't look good at all. Lola's Bow, the one, Close Knit. I mean, they've had their chances. Flying Fred, even getting top, really top connections here.
Yeah.
Maker Gaffleon doesn't look all that great. There's not much to grab onto for any of these horses. So, I'm willing to forgive the effort, and it wasn't even a bad effort or really too much to forgive
No.
se. For Tangled Emotions, just kind of ran evenly around, and I think this horse wants to go longer.
Yep.
I think that's the play here. And as far as the trainer, second time out, does very well. Sprint to route does very well. Off this kind of a layoff does very well, and going with his go-to rider. So all things pointing in the direction that this horse they're going to try to win today. And again, 8-1 is an exceptional price. Even better in Stable Duel because you're not going to be paying up a whole lot of money for a horse that has a really good chance to win.
Tangled Emotions, like this play from Barry, 8-1, only 3,000 in your Stable Duel lineup. Race number 4. I'm going to move along right next door to race number 5. Matt, where do you go next for your play?
I will actually go to the Bewitch for my next play.
I'll go 5th, and then we'll skip on over because I know you got to get out of here in a few minutes. So,
yeah, take your time.
Let's go race number 5. I'm looking at the number 5, Devil's Glen. So I thought, just from a reasoning why I like this horse, kind of simple, right? Debut, pretty good. Runner-up, debut, finishes second in a field of 12, then comes back in career start number 2, and runs into a tough group. The horse who won that day and was DQ'd was Cyberknife. Cyberknife, after getting DQ'd, came back and ran into maiden special weight again, then won the Arkansas Derby recently. And he's kind of been like a wise guy, sort of buzzy horse leading up. He's training pretty well, and he looks pretty good out on the racetrack. So race came back very live, and this was a race that was back in September. So this horse has had plenty of time off since. That was a race that was in his 2-year-old season. He's now 3, comes into a barn that's really solid, actually, with new acquisitions. They're going to get Lasix for the first time. What I like is that we know that because he ran well first time out of the box, that he can fire fresh. He shouldn't have a problem running well off of the bench. I think there are just a lot of things that check the boxes. Tyler Gaffleon's been riding very, very well. Devil's Glen, 8-1 on the morning line, only going to cost you 3,000 in your Stable Duel lineup. Everyone's going to bet the Wesley Ward runner right next door. And yeah, this horse I'm sure is going to be very live, but Devil's Glen will be much, much less for you. I was going to say cheaper, but you see what I did? You guys got
less. Actually, in this race, I kind of, I was on the fence about giving this horse out, and it's number 8, Unified Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
I just think this horse is probably going to get bet based on his last workout, and then coming back over from Churchill over to Keeneland for this race. I mean, it just feels like this horse is just doing too well for them to just wait for the perfect opportunity. And this one comes up. And I do like your horse too. So maybe this is a situation, especially at 12, where you double up.
And don't
5 and 8.
If you play early, pick 5s, pick 4s, pick 3s, things like that. Don't throw this horse out. Make sure you got Unified Dreams in there, because like Barry said, I would not be surprised if this horse opens up very live first click, and there's a little bit of money.
Yeah, drift up. Yeah.
For a barn like this, that's not like a huge barn. If that money is there, this horse could be really live. Unified Dreams just feels like one of those that has some ability. We'll see if they can flash it in race number 5 at Keeneland. So Matt, the Bewitch.
Let's go to the 8. And but I will say, one of the things you guys mentioned, the Ward horse is going to take a lot of money. If for a trainer who's winning at 24%, every time I look up, I feel like a Wesley Ward favorite is not firing.
The
maiden. I mean, it's so I'm just like, I don't know where he's winning 24%, because every time I'm like, so it's a wise decision to go that way. So in in the Bewitch, this is the return of Warlike Goddess. And we talk a lot about attacking races. We talked just about it. Attacking races where we see a kind of weak or vulnerable favorites. Other races to attack are when a favorite is going to cost you $12,000 in Stable Duel. And you're just like, well, is Warlike Goddess the best horse in this field? Well, of course she is. But am I going to pay $12,000?
No thanks.
So I'm going to go a little crazy. I'm going to go with the 7 Breeze Rider.
Hey, this is my 15 to 1. We're on the same one. Here we go. I love it.
This is this will be the pace. Breeze
Absolutely.
Rider
And you
will
know what,
absolutely
what's
be
a
the pace.
positive too, Matt, not to like interrupt
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
but the 5 also scratched out of here, who is a
Yep.
horse that might have been sitting pretty close, right?
Yes.
Stand Tall was probably going to be one of the horses that would be forwardly placed, showing a little bit of that tactical speed. You also scratched Luck Money. So just from a stable duel standpoint, this horse won't be 15-1 because
No.
there's 2 other horses out. I don't think she was going to be 15-1 anyways because of where we're going, right? Because
Yeah.
she looked like she was the lone speed.
Yeah, she's the lone speed. I think now that those 2 scratched, I think you could probably expect the 2, maybe Laloon, to be kind of the next most closely placed because she's getting the blinkers added.
Yep.
And so they're going to want to move her up a little bit. And Laloon's not a bad play either at 8-1. But
No.
I like Breeze Rider for this reason. This is a 15-1 horse, going to cost you $500 on a stable duel. This is a horse that has class. This is not just some cheap speed that's going to fade down the stretch. This is a horse that has consistently won or placed at stakes level competition on turf at over a mile, over 8.5, 9 furlongs. Now, the stretching out to a mile and a half, no doubt that's going to be a challenge. But this is a horse that will not get pressured on the lead. Gino, to your point, will be able to get loose. And the last race going against Crazy Beautiful, who we just saw run against Malathat last week in a graded, at the grade 3. So
Crazy Beautiful is almost a millionaire, has earned $988,000. That's a multiple graded stakes winner, right? So this is another one of those horses where, so you look at her at first glance and you go, okay, well, she's not in like a bunch of graded stakes races, right? They're probably soft, but look at the races. Like you said, she ran into Crazy Beautiful in that Latonia race over at Turfway. That's a multiple graded stakes winner. This Breeze Rider ran at Sam Houston a couple starts back. I'll tell you, Quinella is a legitimate horse. This is not a bad animal at all. This horse got really, really good and is capable of big effort.
Absolutely. Has beaten Alms, who's a really nice horse. Has gone up against Miss Bigley, who's a really nice horse. I mean, has finished right behind Sweet Melania, who's an excellent horse. I mean, this horse has gone against very classy competition. And Coach, to your point as well, like, so that was a nice race. And so at Oaklawn, but it was, so I just think for $500, this is really nice. And the comparison that I might make is maybe, Warlike Goddess will win this race. I think that's probably likely from a percentage standpoint, but I could see this being a little bit like, and I know I just brought up Malathat up previously last week. Lady Mystify got out to that huge lead, and then ended up coming in third, but like held on for third. And I could see something similar here where Breeze Rider gets out to a really comfortable big lead, and maybe a couple of them come charging and maybe get past her. But I don't see her falling off the board. And I just think for this value, you're getting a really nice pick. And I'd much rather spend $500 and get 30 points on Stable Duel than spend $12,000 and really hoping, cross my fingers that Warlike Goddess wins by about 10 lengths to be able to pay that off.
So do I know that she can go this far? No, I don't. But she's only been over a mile and a 16th one time. And in that race, she didn't get the lead. So you're telling me that this type of race where she's probably going to be able to get the lead and dictate her own way, that she absolutely can't? I don't know that. And if she's a really big price, I'm going to give her another shot in here to steal this race and to get out front. Nobody is nearly naturally as close as her at all in here. I mean, she's got to go. And I think it's a really good spot for Breeze Rider. Let's give her a shot to steal this race in the Bewitch, only costing me and Maddie $500 to use in our Stable Duel lineup. So that's race number 8. I actually can go back 1 to the 7th race.
All right. Well, when you do that, I'm going to head out. But
you checked out.
Yeah,
Matt, thank you so much. We weren't even expecting you this week. We know that things are going well for your mom, so it's so awesome to hear. And I was telling you and Barry, I don't think just because of next week's schedule with the Kentucky Oaks on Friday, those races start so early and everything's so Oaks and Derby Central. Next week, we probably won't do a show because I'm actually going to have both of you guys on my podcast to talk about the Oaks and Derby. We're going to do, why don't we plug the fantasy that we're going to do on Tuesday. Tell everybody about that.
Yeah. So I love fantasy sports and I really love drafting.
Yeah.
Really, the rest of the season goes to crap. But
Afterwards?
I like drafting,
Yep.
and so I like the potential of greatness. So I thought it would be fun to get a few of us together and do a Kentucky Derby draft. So it's going to be the three of us and our good friend Caleb from over on the Wrong Lead. The four of us are going to draft from the 20 Derby starters. So we're going to put together stables of 5 horses. It's going to be a 5-round snake draft. And we'll talk through each of the horses. That's going to be next Tuesday, the 3rd at 7 p.m. Eastern. Should be a lot of fun. It's a great way. I know a lot of people have interacted with me on social media and said, hey, I'd love to do this too. I just tell them, hey, get a couple of buddies and put something like this together. You
Put
don't need
20
many
bucks
people.
in, everybody put 25 in, and the winner take the 100, right? Or
Exactly,
like,
exactly. And we're going to use kind of modified stable duel scoring to determine how, to figure out who ends up going to end up winning. But fun way to talk about all the horses, see how we rank them and kind of where some of the strategy that we might have in terms of trying to catch some of those horses that are going to finish well in Derby. So I appreciate it, guys. And I will see you all next week. But good luck at the races.
Thank you, Matty.
All right, man. Take care.
Go give Matt a follow over there as we continue along with Keeneland Friday. So I'm going to the 7th race here, and I'm looking at the 2, Barry. Let My People Go.
That's who I got.
Oh, beautiful. We're on the same one here. Awesome.
Yes.
Well, I mean, look, this guy makes a lot of sense, doesn't he?
Too much sense.
Right? Is runner a back-to-back nice effort. So, again, I like looking at horses like this. I know that he's fine sprinting on the dirt because he did it in his debut. Then he came back and he went 6.5, and he was really good on the turf. So I have no.
Well, I can tell you, I was there on that day at Tampa, and the horse that beat him, McKillop, was pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
A Chad Brown horse that
First timer.
Exactly, just looked pretty damn good.
Yep.
But I liked, again, the drop second time off the layoff as a 3-year-old, paired up numbers. So you see the 65 buyer on October 9th, then paired it up, which means there's another jump.
Mm-hmm.
This horse has improvement in him. And this is just the perfect spot. I like the 2 workouts coming into this. I mean,
we love these turnbacks from like a mile and a 1/16 where you showed a little bit of route speed, cut me back to 6.5 or 7. I love situations like that. So now,
not to mention, I don't think this horse was really that suited to be a turf runner.
No, I don't either. And that the Keeneland race back in October, going long on the dirt, that race actually was pretty tough. And I know
Call Me Midnight
look right now and go, oh, Giant Game isn't any good, but he was pretty good.
He was then.
Yeah,
he was at that time.
At that point,
and Call Me Midnight
and ran 3rd, and he was precocious then. We see that a lot with 2-year-old horses where they were good then, but everybody else matures and gets better. It's like the big kid, right, that grows up before everybody else, but then everyone else catches up to them. Call Me Midnight has had a nice year, came back and won the Lecomte, and we saw Gilded Age actually perform well, go over in 1/3 in the Withers. That was a nice race that this horse came out of. So now we got legitimate excuses, couple good efforts. Then the race at Keeneland going long, put a line right through that. Came back at Tampa going long on the turf. Well, that probably isn't what he wants to do. And he hooked a really tough force that day. And he was coming off the bench, probably needed the race. Now he adds the blinkers. You cut back, second start off the bench. He's been working well at Keeneland. He's 12-1 on the morning line. So he's only going to cost you, $750 in your stable dual lineup. I shout out to Rafi Bejarano. I interviewed Bejarano this week for the next installment of Riders Up. That's going to come out next week.
Okay.
Man, that's one guy who you sort of forget how many good horses through the years that he's been on. And like when you look up at the resume, it's like, oh, wow, I forgot you were on that one. Oh, wow, you were on that one too. That one when Bobby Frankel brought him out to Southern California, and then he was riding for Baffert, like a lot of those great horses for many, many years. So shout out to Bejarano here on Let My People Go. It's a good spot for us, Barry, to try to catch a 12-1 morning line. Like this is another one who on paper, he looks and feels more like a horse that should be like 6-1.
Right.
like in
Yeah.
that
And,
range.
and the, you still have the unknown commodities in these first time starters.
Yeah,
But I do think in this race in particular that the ones that ran actually do look a little bit better.
yeah, I agree. I agree. So I've got one more to try to close out the card at Keeneland, to try to close out the Keeneland meet on Friday. We head to the 10th, and I don't have to go too far. I'm just going to number one, Naval
Oh,
Aviator.
see, I got
Aviator.
one in here too. I'm always about the bailout also. So
Always
those
got
things
to
you can count on with me are putting races together back to back doubles and
straight
then
double and the
the last
bailout.
race. Right.
The bailout Barry, baby. Bailout Barry. We've got
You
the
know,
love-
I actually I punted on the one. I do like the one here, but that's not who I ended up with. But
Yeah,
yeah.
just you look at horse who they wanted to get on the turf first time out of the box. Race was taken off the turf, stayed on it, won going 1 mile and an eighth. So then now you go, oh, okay, you know what? We were pretty good there. Let's come back and run on the dirt. And they actually ran into a horse named Trafalgar who really wasn't bad and was trying to get into the Derby and trying to get points. Then you're off from December to April. You show back up in April, and when you show up, you hook a sloppy racetrack. And you can put a line right through that. So now they'll try the turf, which is the surface that they wanted to get on initially. And look at the dam of this runner on the turf. Cherokee Queen. This horse was a 9-time grass winner who earned $535,000. And Cherokee Queen was like just nice. Look, we're talking multiple graded stakes winner or a graded stakes winner. We're talking a horse who was in grade 1 races and legitimate mile distance turf horse. Really, really nice form from the dam Cherokee Queen. No direct winning turf sibs, but not a whole lot of direct turf success. I just feel like Naval Aviator has a nice opportunity to step forward on the grass. He's got ability. We know that. He could perk up just a tad on the grass, and you get Pratt jumping aboard for Brad Cox to save all the ground from the inside. So I think if you're playing exotics and you're closing out pick 4s and pick 5s,
Oh yeah, he's a must use.
and then in stable duel only cost you $1,000 to try to close out your card. So where do you want to go to close things out, buddy?
We're going to number 10, Spin Wheel.
There we go.
And it's actually the same owners as the one we just talked about with Bejarano,
Yep.
BBN Racing. But this horse, it's tough because this race is another one that can go a lot of different directions, especially, a mile and 3/16 on the turf. You don't see a lot of these races for 3-year-olds this early. So it's kind of, it's weird how these races end up unfolding.
Yep.
Because there really isn't a clear cut speed, I guess. I mean, you could say the 6 Durante is the speed, but I'm not sure that others. Right. I'm not sure others are not going to try to force that one's hand because he doesn't look all that menacing. Like, oh, we can't get in front of this horse.
Exactly.
A horse like Icarus could actually try to go to the lead. I thought.
He's tried to fly too close to the sun many times, right? So he'll go out there.
Even Verstappen, the 8, has some zip that may try to get out there and get in good position. So that may end up having horses, from, kind of mid-pack be more effective in this race. And this horse has some class here. Broke his maiden back in November 2021 at Churchill. Just the comment says it all for that race. If you looked at it, is ran down the leader, and that's basically all the horse did. Then they came back in the Holy Bull, which is grade 3, and was a giant price at 54-1. Then came back at the Tampa Bay Derby and was 64-1, 65-1.
That Holy Bull, look at how live that Holy Bull has come back.
Right, and just
simplification, Mo Donegal, and Tis the Bomb at the bottom.
But even in that horse's race at Keeneland back in October last year, Grand Sonata isn't a really bad horse either.
No.
And I like the fact that even though this horse came back in tougher races, still ran better than he did at age 2. And this is probably a lot of class relief that this horse kind of needs.
Mm-hmm.
In comparison to everyone else, is probably keeping the best company. I see, Xavier Davy and Cyberknife for for the 2-horse. But from a just a pure class perspective, this horse has been keeping way better
Absolutely.
company than everybody else, and I expect there's going to be some improvement. Switching to a field that's definitely not as classy as the ones that Spinwheel's been facing. Getting Lasix turf to dirt, I think all the signs are pointing that this is a horse on the improve. This horse should definitely like turf better. I'm not sure why it took so long to get back to the turf, but
And the
here
dam
we
he was
are.
on the turf wasn't
bad.
No.
Wasn't bad.
No.
No. And,
Here's
and,
the
and-
dam who ran actually really well at Keeneland, finishing second on the Keeneland turf course in the Jessamine, won first time out of the box too. There's a lot to like. Moon Over Miami, you and I played this horse
yeah,
together.
absolutely.
Moon Over Miami for sure, who is another one who's got some class, who's got some ability. Mose has shown some turf ability also. 3/4 time multiple winner on the turf. There's a lot of turf there.
Right. And this is just a really good spot, especially at a good price to kind of end the meet. I
Yep.
think we got one here. This is a bailout.
Spin wheel. Let's get a little 110 to close out the Keeneland
There we go.
Friday action. So for Saturday, we going to Santa Anita, Where are we
Yes,
going,
absolutely. We're going West Coast. Santa Anita goes
Anita, West-
Golden Gate.
West Coast, Santa Anita, Golden Gate. Let's go West Coast and let's go Saturday, Santa Anita. Tell me where you want to head. I actually got one in the opener.
Okay. I don't have one in the open, so we can do
Okay,
that
so
one.
let's go. Let's start there with the opener at Santa Anita on Saturday. Big shout out to Daily Racing Form as we pull up the Saturday past performances. Head on over there, drf.com. So I played this course before, and he ran really, really well when I did last time, or she ran well when I did last time. The number 6, Clean Karma. So I like the way she stacks up with this group. Now, Clean Karma, back on October the 16th, ran in an identical race, 1 1/8 miles, an optional 50 first level allowance, and you see the exact conditions of this race. Clean Karma was 50-1 that day and just missed, was beaten a neck in a similar spot. Now, since then, so if I'm just using that race as a measuring stick, and just from like a buyer standpoint, she ran an 83 buyer that day. That is like the top compared to everybody else. Like that is right there with everybody else's best turf races. Now, since that day, she came back. She ran into a horse named Tony Ann. Tony Ann was really sharp, had won 3 consecutive races in a row, and then tried the Buena Vista. So, you run into a horse a couple times. You run into a horse that's won a couple times and that's got a lot more speed than you. So, they're always going to be able to beat you and get a jump on you there. After facing Tony Ann, she runs into Bye Bye Birdie 3 times in a row. And Bye Bye Birdie has won 4 in a row. They thought enough of Bye Bye Birdie. They're going to take a shot with her in a graded stakes race later on in the card. And, she's won 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6 in 4 straight races Bye Bye Birdie. I'm just thinking that Clean Karma is one of those that's got that form a little bit muddied up. That 1 1/8 mile race is the one that jumps off the page to me. Now, to keep in mind, those last 2 races, she had legitimate trouble. 3 starts back, she was second that day. She ran really, really well. Now, she's kind of her own worst enemy because sometimes she can be what our friend Emily Gullickson calls a slog, slow out of the gate, right? So
Yep.
she can sort of just put herself into some trouble and get into traffic right away. But from her A game, her best races are right there with the best of the others in here. And she's 15-1 and a much bigger price. In Stable Duel, she'll only cost us $500 to use. She could be a really fun horse to kick off the Saturday Santa Anita card in race number 1. So I'll try to get a bomb right off the bat. Barry, where do you want to head at Santa Anita?
I'm in race 7.
Race
7 and 9.
7, race number 7 for the Sniper. We've got a first level allowance for Calbreds, mile on the turf course. Where are we looking?
We are looking at number 7, Continental Divide. I know this horse is a 7-year-old, and that's typically kind of against my own principles here. I really tread lightly with any horses over 6. Always, kind of pump the
When it
brakes a
starts
little
to add
bit.
up, it starts to get to you a little bit, right?
Exactly. I feel it myself, so I
Me
understand
too.
what getting old is like. Um, but this horse actually hadn't been out for a while. You know, hadn't been out since 2019. Then comes back at a claimer, an open claimer for 40,000, and doesn't run too bad. Comes back in a starter allowance for 50 and runs kind of mid pack. But
Yep.
this is probably the best spot this horse has been in for a long time.
hmm
If he can get to those races back from 219, any of them,
Yep.
any of those races from February 2019 all the way through June, if that horse runs any of these races, definitely will win this race.
Absolutely.
And I think this horse can. I mean, you see, it's possible. He came back off the bench of a 3-year layoff
hmm
and runs a 79 in a race that was probably at this point over his head.
Yep. And he
So
probably just
now,
came back a little too quickly.
right, and he's probably in the best spot. Like I said, the best spot he's been in a long time,
hmm
and shown that he can win. So if you go back to May 5th, 2019, he won at this distance, at this level. And this probably is the perfect level for him, and it was actually his last win. So, just kind of recreating those conditions in this
hmm
race, because there's plenty of speed for him to run at. He doesn't need to be, kind of forwardly placed or get like the perfect trip in order to win this race. He just may be better than these, even though he's a little older and has been out for a while. But I'm gonna take a shot because his price is decent at 6-1. I think is a little low. He might end up drifting up off of that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. I agree.
but
I
he
like
still
it.
merits a great chance.
And he'd been off for so long that he was going to need a little progression to be built up, right?
Right.
5 to 6, and now you go back to a mile, and the mile is where we saw him in the winner's circle last time out. I just think he won't have to. Some of those races going quick, like coming off the bench, and then you're going sub 22. That was probably a little
That's
bit
not his
hard,
thing. Yeah,
right?
that's not
Like,
his thing. That's not his
yeah, and
bag.
even last time, like they're going 22 and 2. It's just a little bit harder to keep up
It's
with.
quick. Too
He's going
quick
to be
for
able
him.
to settle here, relax much better. Continental Divide, the number 7 in race number 7. As we continue along through this Saturday card, make sure all of you head to StableDuel.com. You can check out all the important news there in the blog section. You can check out the contest schedule, and you can click right from Stable Duel and go download the Stable Duel app. I'm going to head to race 10 and talk about.
Well, I got one in 9 if you want to
Yeah,
do
let's
that
get
one
there
first.
first. Let's go to 9
If you're
first.
just going progression, yeah.
Let's go right along the way.
Yeah, this is an interesting race. It's kind of cool. I wish they would use the downhill a little bit more.
I know.
But I like them having the option to do either or, because
Yep.
they're two totally different races, to be
Absolutely.
honest. This is a state bred maiden special weight, 6 furlongs on the flat turf course. I ended up going with number 12, Disco Tribute, and it was only because the one hole I know has some issues there to
Mhm.
try to navigate. And that was the horse that I liked originally, but I can't. It's tough for me to bet the one spot on these flat races, because the picture that they show in the racing form isn't really all
No.
that accurate as to what the
It's
turf
out
course looks
in the
like.
rails out. You're like,
Yes.
yeah.
And they
Yeah.
have to kind of work out a trip if they're not completely like just blazing fast, than everyone else. And I don't think the one is that. So, that's why I went away from this horse. But the 12 is going to have all the speed inside of him. And I love that trip, especially, with a horse who himself is going to be kind of forwardly placed also.
Yep.
He just got to get out of the gate. That's really all it is. I don't think the 7 is much of a threat, even though that horse has a lot of speed. I think the 1 is got to force the hand and try to get out, which may play into the pace scenario, as well as the 2, who has speed. So there's a lot of speed here, and I think this horse is just going to fall into the right trip.
It's perfectly from the outside.
Yeah, because he's quicker than the 11, And I think that's the horse that, obviously he wants to be out in front of.
Mhm.
I think he wants to dare the chipper, the 11, to kind of run him down. And that's what I'm hoping happens. But I think this horse just falls into the, kind of the perfect trip, kind of 3-4 wide stalking, and should get first run on these. And as far as he wants to go, if the 11 can run him down, then, he was definitely the better horse. But I think this one's going to be in the right spot at 6-1. Not a bad play in Stable Duel, and definitely is part of a pick 4.
Yep, absolutely. Disco Tribute. Blacker's been having an incredible meet so far. That is race number 9 on Saturday at Santa Anita. We head to the grade 2 Santa Margarita, race number 10. And like, to be honest, this doesn't feel or look like a grade 2,
No.
right? This looks like it should be like an overnight stakes, maybe a grade 3 for these fillies and mares. And so I think people will see it's a graded stakes race, and then they'll look down and think that some horses may not be able to compete, but just keep in mind, this isn't the strongest group in the world. Like, Miss Bigley is fine. She's nice. She won the grade 3 Bayakoa a couple starts back. She's not like a monster or anything. She's not someone that's going to like terrify you or scare you off of running in this race. I actually really there's our friend Bye Bye Birdie, who steps up off of her 4 wins. I really like the 2 in here, Bella Moore. So let's look at Bella Moore's career. She's run 5 times. So in her first 2 starts, she ran on the dirt and she ran fine. She was favored in both of those for Chad Brown. She actually had a little bit of trouble in both of those starts. She sort of bumped the gate, and then she got bumped early in her second start. And then we know in career start number 2, where she was only beaten a nose going long on the dirt, we know that something went wrong because she didn't run from October of 2020 all the way to January of 2022. So she shows back up after 15 months off, and she runs in a dirt sprint, which is probably shorter than what she ever wanted to do. They never even had her go to 6 furlongs first time out. To me, that's a total prep, right? Off of a long layoff, first time in the barn. Let's just go 6 furlongs. Let's get a little fitness there. Let's sort of see what this filly's got. And she ends up running into a pretty tough group that day. She hooks a horse named Ironic Twist, who's 2 for 2, came back to win and beat a first level allowance group second time out. The runner up that day, Musica, came right back to win a maiden special weight. And then she finished second in her next start. She was only beaten a nose. She earned an 83 Beyer speed figure in that as a runner up effort. So I like the races, the first 3. They're fine. Like 2.
All of them.
Right?
It's steady improvement every time. This horse is getting better. You can tell.
Yep.
He's just doing everything the right way. I mean, why not give him a shot here?
You go up to Golden Gate. You break your maiden there. Yeah, you break your maiden on February the 26th, and that was going long. Then you come back on March the 25th. Again, you sit a nice trip, and just a lot of positives, right? Like, she should not be 15-1 in this field against this group. And some people might go, okay, if her buyer last time was bigger, and the others, maybe it's an outlier. Well, yeah, because she's improving. She's finally raced. That was the first time she's put 3 races together, and she's now a 4-year-old. So she's had a lot of progression. Her first couple races were at the end of her 2-year-old season. This filly has grown up and matured a whole heck of a lot since then. I think this is a really nice spot for her because you look around, like, who terrifies you? Lisette? No. Blue Stripe? Yeah, this is a Group 1 winner from Argentina, but we have to see how she stacks up over here. She was, well defeated in the Breeders' Cup. We just can't get a feel really yet for how like what kind of class she has. Park Avenue was good on the turf. Her races before the grass, they weren't overwhelming or as if, they would crush, from a speed figure standpoint. Midnight Jamboree, Sharapova. I mean, she's lightly raced in nice form. She's fine, but I like the upside of Bella Moore. She fits with speed figures. She's fine on the dirt. She's a little sneaky in here, Barry, and I'm going to use her at 15-1, only 500 in our Stable Duel lineup. So that's Saturday. I've got one more in the closeout at Santa Anita. Do you have anything else?
No, I do not. Not for Santa
Well, I'm
Anita.
taking the page out of Barry's book, going to the
bailout.
Going to the bailout
I hope you're bailing out with number 6.
Bailing out with number 6, Coalinga Road. Oh no Coalinga Road for me.
No,
I'm
dang.
going to a bomb though, Air Force Red. So
Okay.
let's take a look.
Okay.
Let's take a look at the pattern here for Air Force Red. Right, debuts sprinting, going 6 against maiden specials. The race wasn't bad. Finishes 4th, only beaten a couple lengths that day. Kind of has a slowish start, a little bit of trouble, and then gets going. Career start number 2, 6.5 furlongs. It's not down the hill, but it is going 6.5. 10-1 wins. Then career start number 3, they stretch out. They go longer on the turf. They show a little bit of tactical speed that day. Had a good start, but this horse was actually in some sneaky trouble. Let's show the replay. I haven't showed too many replays today. So Air Force Red is the number 2 in the race that we're going to be watching right here with our DRF formulator past performance replays. So good start, but then you're kind of in tight down on the inside. The 2s ask for a little bit of speed going long. I like that. But now you try to track behind the 3 and you end up sort of getting in the
Shuffled,
spot that you didn't want to get in, right? Like
Right.
you ask for speed to stay out of some of that, but then the 3 gets in front of you and you get shuffled back. You got to grab a hold. And now your horse who wanted to be more forwardly placed, the first furlong is kind of screwed up because you're dulled now, right? Your speed.
Yeah.
Now you got to sort of wrangle this horse back a little bit. So he's sitting inside and now he's just not comfortable. You know, you can just sort of see he ends up getting shuffled a little bit more, nowhere to go. He has to kind of try to shift around a little bit late. And even when he's tired late and he's a little bit flat, he's still kind of blocked. The horse who wins this race, Gold Phoenix, we're actually going to see running in a graded stakes race earlier on the card. So, I mean, he's in a nice spot. And this is something that, Barry, we preach quite often. We just talked about it earlier. The horses that have shown a little bit of tactical speed routing, and then you cut him back. Right here, he's just got nowhere to go.
I think that combined with, I'm not really sure this horse wants to go that long, but he was kind of bottled up, and then
and now he's flat.
Right here, he kind of gets to the point where he can run a little bit, and he looked a little tired, kind of weaving in and out, and
exactly. He's still sort of trying down there, right? It's in tight.
They got stopped again.
And, he wasn't going to win, but he might have finished 3rd or in that wall.
Yeah, I'd say 3rd was probably his ceiling there, but I just don't think that was the right distance. But you definitely caught on to something. But there's no way this horse is going to be 20-1.
No way, right?
There's no way this horse is going to be 20-1.
Well, just off of the 80 that buyer speed figure off the win, right? Like compare that. You compare
that stacks up with everybody.
Mutaba, who right next door has got an 81 in their victories. Motorius, who's got an 83 in the runner-up effort. Like that is right there with everyone else's races. So in Stable Duel, I thought this horse was like an absolute use because they'll be so cheap, will cost us almost nothing. And I feel like 8 or 10-1. That probably is a lot more like where this horse should be. Maybe 6-1, right?
Well, I'm also going to go out on a limb and say that the connections were not enthused about that ride they got.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly.
And that's why you don't see the same person riding back. And, this is just more an advantageous spot, I think, especially down the hill. So much better.
Air Force Red down the hill. A little tactical speed going longer down the hill and drawn to the outside down the hill. All positive things there for Air Force Red on Saturday at Santa Anita to close out the card. But we are going to head up to NoCal, brah. Up to NoCal. And we don't go up to Northern California all too often, but Golden Gate, Barry, they got a really good card on Saturday.
They do.
They got some stakes races from races 6 through 11, some big fields on the synthetic and on the turf, lots of price opportunities, and it's a cool Stable Duel contest building type card because there are a lot of horses that you're like, 6-1, 8-1, 10-1. They make sense. I like them. Good horses that you can use in your Stable Duel lineup. So let's shift on over to Golden Gate for Saturday and tell us a couple of the races you're looking at for Saturday.
I have 2 picks, race 3 and race 6. but we could start in race 3. It's a
Yeah,
main special weight for fillies and mares.
let's do it.
Purse
Race 3.
purse is 30,000. I ended up on the 6 Extinguisher, and this is a first-time starter who has just like clockwork.
Yep.
The works, and I like what really stood out to me were the steady stream of 5 furlong works, which is really good coming into a 5.5 furlong race.
Mhm.
I mean, let's see, 1, 2, 3 out of the last 5 were at 5 furlongs, and this horse is, you can see the steady progression in the works from January to the present. But I mean, if you look at the entire field, the 5 they have as the favorite, who's been working okay, I guess, a little bit quicker with those same 5 furlong works. But I'm not so sure. I mean, I guess, this horse is going to catch a lot of action because he's a gun runner. But I don't like the fact that this horse was bought for less than his
Yes.
stud fee, which, kind of
Lets you know that there was probably
there's some
something
issues
wrong.
there, right?
There
There
was an
there may
issue.
be some issues there that didn't command the top price for a gun runner. So, that right away told me that I might be able to look elsewhere for some
Yep.
some value. They may overestimate this horse's chances first time out, but you got the other horse that might take some action, which is the 5 One Silk Stocking. Doug O'Neill. You got his horses coming up there.
Mhm.
He's hitting at almost a 30% rate. But again, this horse goes out first time at Santa Anita, 6 furlongs, and just doesn't run a step. Got beat by 52 lengths. Not saying that this horse can't come back here and turn it around and win, but I'm going to need a little bit more to grab onto.
I agree.
And especially that we've seen a horse like that.
Yep.
And they paid a pretty good penny. So I'm not saying that horse, you can't just dismiss that horse, but
I need to
I'm willing
see a
to,
little bit
yeah.
more.
I want to see it run a decent race because
Yeah.
I mean,
Just a step,
that one,
need something, right? Like a
Right.
little bit, something.
yeah, because he didn't get out all that. She didn't get out all that great, and just was eased. So we don't know what we're getting there, and I don't want to take a too short of a price on a
No.
horse like that.
Nope. I like
The
it.
3, yeah, it's just kind of one of those situations, and this happens a lot, especially in smaller fields in a maiden special weight or a maiden race, where you can just fall into a runner that you don't necessarily love, but just seems more logical than
spot.
everybody else.
a
And
fit.
I think that's what we have with Extinguisher. I mean,
You start. It's
you-
the process of elimination that we talked about,
Right.
right? You start eliminating. And you know what? That's not the one. They're a little too expensive for what they feel. You know what? This horse feels like the right horse in this spot for a super good barn first. Like a super good barn. They're better first time out than those numbers would suggest when you dig into their deeper sample size. Really capable, steady tab, Extinguisher, Straight Fire, 3-year-old daughter of Straight Fire. Let's see if she can get the job done for Barry at Golden Gate on Saturday. So we said race number 6. I've also got one in the
Okay.
California Derby, race number 6. I don't have to go too far because mine is the one. Il Capitano. I just hope they get out front with this horse and send hard. I'm looking at Il Capitano. I think he's the one to catch from the inside. Down next door, you've got Bellator, who I don't think is quite as quick. I think he'll be better suited to sit a little bit. Boise is a closer. Cabo Spirit is probably going to be sitting a little bit more. Worst Reed Sanchez comes from way out of it. Midnight Mammoth has a little bit of speed, but I think the inside draw is what's going to help Il Capitano here. He wired a field on the synthetic back in November. And then when he went into the Gold Rush, he just went a little too quick early on. He was almost at 23 flat. That's moving, going a mile at Golden
Yeah.
Gate, up there on the synthetic. So I think
Well, you want to keep in mind the horse that beat him is actually my pick,
there we go.
Boise.
Nice. I love it. Yeah. And he makes a ton of sense here, right?
Yeah, I just this horse has some class. The only question mark is how far back is this horse going to be?
Yep.
Which could determine where this horse finishes. But keeping good company, hasn't been out for a while. I think the layoff did this horse good, as you can see, the work tab was pretty good going into this race. I just think all systems are go, especially with and I do like your horse, and I thought about using that one because that horse is kind of on the rise, but I think this horse might be suited better for the turf rather than synthetic,
Yeah.
if that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
no, absolutely. We
Um,
can very much see it. You see some of the turf success down here. Wired this field on the turf last time out. Second off the bench, first off the claim for Miotti. But
and I think the opposite with Boise, and I think Boise
it's a
is actually
synthetic horse for sure.
is better suited for the synthetic rather than
Yeah,
the turf. So you keep those things in mind. I'm not really too fond of Cabo Spirit.
me
I
neither.
just I've
He
seen
can be-
enough. Yeah, I've seen enough. Even though he's been running with better company, they shipped him out east for to
the
run
turf
in
race,
the in the stakes
the stakes. Yep.
and didn't run a step. And I don't know why they would think they could just come out, back out west in a spot like this.
I
And,
don't-
I just don't like it. It's just
Me
not
neither.
a move that I prefer, especially somebody that's going to be a favorite getting Joe Bravo. This horse is going to get pounded in the windows, and I just want no part of it.
If he gets me at a short price, he gets
Yeah,
me,
let him.
right?
Yeah,
There'll
exactly.
be 2-to-1 shots that I like a lot more every single day of the week. I've got a couple just to dive into real quick as we finish up here this weekend in Stable Duel. So we won't be here with you next week, but we will be here with you every week, 10 a.m. Eastern time, 7 a.m. Pacific time. And I'm looking forward to 3 weeks from now because we know that Stable Duel has that huge Preakness game on Preakness Saturday. So a couple weeks from now, we'll be able to preview that, the Pimlico Saturday stuff on Friday, the day before.
Oh, yeah.
And that'll be a lot of fun because we can really dive into that card, which I know a lot of people will have big Stable Duel games going on. So just a few to look at on the late part of the card at Golden Gate. In race number 9, I think I played this horse on this show before one time, Evening Sun. I think it's just a great spot for Evening Sun going a mile. This is the best betting race you will find all weekend and one of the best all year. It's a field of 14. And
Gotta love it.
The chalk is 9-2. That's the favorite. I believe, or is it 7-2 or 9-2? Yeah, 9-2.
9-2
is your morning line favorite in here. Van Zee, who Barry gave out as a winner on this show on March the 25th, he makes a lot of sense. He's 4-1. He could sit a really nice trip in here. But Evening Sun, he's just done so little wrong since coming into North America. And in his most recent races, 2 starts back, he was behind Dicey Mo Chara, and Dicey Mo Chara is in the graded stakes race at Santa Anita on the card on Saturday, and he's going to be 4-1. He's a major player in there. He actually took a big shot at Acclimate and just couldn't get by after Acclimate was cruising on the front end. It just feels like the way in a big field like this, he's got a little versatility to him. I don't think he needs to be, way out of it. I don't think he wants to be right on the lead. I can see him winning in multiple ways. He's going to go third start of his form cycle. And Brice Blanc is one of those really underrated turf riders. He retired for a while. He came back, and it's not like he's getting the greatest mounts in the world in Southern California or in California where there aren't that many options. But with the right type of horse, he will give them a very good ride. I like Evening Sun at 6-1. That's 5,000 in your Stable Duel lineup. And one more shout out to our guy Barry, who dished out Van Zee.
Yeah.
And
I looked at this race too, and I almost decided to push forward with a selection, but
it's a big field, man.
yeah, this is a tough race, but I liked Restrained Vengeance. I think getting back to the
Classy
turf.
horse.
Yeah, I think getting back to the turf it will be the key here for that one.
This horse has faced Art Collector, Life is Good, United, Smooth Like Straight, just some monsters now. Second start back, and he's classy. He is. He really is. One or two others just to quickly check in on before we get on out of here. So that's the Lost in the Fog. Shout out to one of the great sprinters there from NoCal, Lost in the Fog. And I thought that what was that?
The one I liked the one a lot last time.
I know.
And kind of got a bad trip
It was
and
not.
got claimed
Yeah.
and ends up here, which is interesting on the synth.
Yep.
You know, I would have thought they would have kept this horse going 6 on the grass, but here
Maybe
we
they
are.
see something. The synthetic race back
Hey,
here.
28% trainer. You
Yep.
can't really argue too much.
Yeah. They
Very good numbers off the claim as
see the
well.
ball well up there, and they've ran well at Golden Gate back in November. I remember this horse quite a bit. You remember Nero,
Mm-hmm.
who was supposed to be like the Baffert horse, that
Right,
year?
the second coming of
Yeah, he was supposed to be awesome that year. And
Mhm.
in his debut, he was second. He was beaten a nose. He came back in career start number 2, and he won. And in career start number 3, he was in the San Vicente. And, you know, he was in the Baffert barn. And it's funny because all of these horses for Baffert, they're supposed to be the best, you know, they're supposed to be incredible. So if they're not like horses that win 5 in a row, I always
You're
think,
like, what's
they
going
were-
on? Yeah,
right?
what's
Like,
going on
they
here?
weren't that good. But then you look back at this horse and you're like, wow, you know what? He did a little bit better than I thought he did. You know, the Malibu, he didn't run all that well that day, but he was in tight, and that was a tough Malibu. He was there with McKinsey, and he was 30-1. He was overmatched that day. After that, he came back. He ran second in a non-2 allowance. Then he won for his second time. Then he was in the Triple Bend. He finished 3rd there. That wasn't a bad effort. He changes barns. He goes over to Oaklawn Park. And his races at Oaklawn aren't really that great. He drops in class to claim the claiming ranks. He goes for 40 claimer. He wins there. Then he's in for, a first level allowance optional 40 on August of 2020, and he's sent to the bench. He's sent to the bench from August of 2020 to January of 2022. Then he returns. He runs into Barry's guy, Ultimate Bango, there in a 40 claimer. But that's a race he needs off a long layout.
Yeah, he needed that
It's
for sure.
24-1, so he needs that. He comes back going long on the synthetic, which is not what he wants to do. He's a sprinter. This is a sprint horse. So he goes a little longer. He flashes some speed, but he fades. They cut him back to a sprint at Santa Anita down the hill, and he ran really, really well. He perked up even more. He took another step forward progression-wise, and he ran into a group that was pretty decent. We've already seen Bran come back to win out of that race. The winner of that race, Gregorian Chant, is a stakes caliber type horse. We see him win the San Simeon not long ago. And so again, if you're just comparing horses in here on their speed figures, and now he's heading back up in the right direction, if he can take one more step up back to where he was down here in that like low 90s-ish area, that competes with this group. From a class standpoint, he's not going to be overmatched on class. He's got that class. It's just, how much ability does this horse still really have left? Does he have a whole lot of fight? He's dealt with a ton of issues, but I like horses like that who I know on his best day he could win a race like this.
Yeah,
Does
I
he
mean,
still have his best day in there? That's
he
the question.
reminds me of my bailout horse.
Yeah,
with the same, a 7-year-old that had a couple years off.
Yep.
And starts running races similar to what he was running way back when.
Yep. And so you just
definitely
have to
on the
project
upswing.
one more little move forward for him. He cuts back. His only race on the synthetic was going long. So I think some people might look and go, he doesn't really like the synthetic. I don't know that. The only time he went on the synthetic was going long, and I just don't think he really wants to go long, because you'll see he won a race going long. He was a heavy chalk in a small field, and he got a perfect trip. So don't look at that race and go, he's better going long because that was one of his better races. Well, no. A lot of horses can win a race going long in the right circumstance, but that's not where you're going to get the best from him. Nero, some back class. Let's see if he has any of it left. Nero, 10-1. I'll give you one more bomb before we finish up. And in race number 11. And this is a horse who might be a tad I don't want to say cheap. Might be a little bit soft in this field compared to some of the others, but I think Lots of Pepper is going to get the lead in here. I don't think there's that much speed in a 5 furlong turf sprint for this type of a race, and she is really, really quick. So look at Lots of Pepper and then look around the rest of this field. Never for Money.
I don't see too many ones hanging
Right?
around.
No, not
I mean,
really.
you see the
Dynasty
5.
Roll, this one is the one, but that horse draws the inside and is still quicker than
Right.
Dynasty of Her Own. Sadie Bluegrass, a little bit more of a presser. Revelation wants to sit. This one is another one who's going to be sitting a little bit. Carolina Mia, maybe from the outside they send. I think the 2 is the quickest here, and 5 furlongs on the turf is really all I'm worried about. Going more than 5 furlongs, a little bit too long. 5.5 on the synthetic, 2 starts back, But the 5 furlong turf races, they're good. Even when finishing second and fourth back here, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get good speed. You're going to go down on the inside. You've run well over this turf course. Lots of pepper. I'm more of a salt guy myself, but if you need some pepper to close out the Golden Gate Saturday card, there's a 15-1 shot for you. That will
I tell you what, I wouldn't dismiss the 1 either at a huge price.
Yep. That was the horse who beat the one last time. This horse, Lots of Pepper. And if they can just work out a trip from down there, I absolutely think they are capable on their best days, no doubt, at 20-1. So a couple of bombs in this race that you could use in your stable duel lineup. My friend, we come to the end of another one of our stable duel live stream shows. And like I said, I've been emotional. I've been reflecting on everything and everyone. And these last couple of years have been such a blast getting to know you, buddy. You've become a great friend. I talk with you at least once a week, usually a couple times a week, and other direct messages and backs and forths. And I love the energy that you bring, man. I love the way that you look at the races.
Appreciate it, man.
You're always looking for prices. You're fun out there on social media. You're not scared of taking a stand. You're not scared of standing up for what you believe in and telling someone to F off if they need to. I love that. I'll do the same thing. We've got along very well for a while, and I can't thank you enough for all the time and all the energy you've given me, and you've helped me out, man. So thank you so much.
Yeah, man, it goes both ways. I mean, you've helped me as well in so many ways you probably don't even realize it, but I'm very, very grateful. I mean, you know, it's just crazy that the pandemic has brought us together, but you know, it just happened that way, and I definitely appreciate you, man.
Yep, it's weird things, right? In a tough time for so many people around the world, I feel bad in saying that was like my show really succeeded. During that, because people were looking for things to watch, for content, for stuff to listen to. There wasn't a lot of sports going on. TV shows and movies weren't being made. New ones, you know,
everything was on hold, man. It's
wild. It was so people were looking for stuff, and the only things that weren't on hold were horse racing and wrestling. Those are two of the things that I talk a lot about on my shows. So all these people started gravitating towards, and it was so nice to get to interact with all these different people, all these different horse players. I learn from you every week, buddy. Next week we won't be here, but Barry's going to join me on my show. That's what G said. We're going to break down one of the races for the undercard for Friday or Saturday, and then we'll get some thoughts on Barry's Oaks and Derby selections for next week. My man, I hope you crush it next week. You have a great weekend this week. Let's build the bankroll a little bit, and we'll be back in 2 weeks from now, and we'll be focused in on Stable Duel with all of our Derby winnings. How's that sound?
Do it. I'm down. Let's do this.
Love it.
Let's collect all this money this week.
Exactly.
This week and next week.
Rake it all in, and then we keep rolling it over for the next few weeks. Thanks again to our buddy Matt DeSantis for helping out, and get on over to Stable Duel. It's closing day at Keeneland. You got to get involved in these contests. Get those entries in and play, race, win. One person who's been a huge part of the 300 episodes for me on That's What G Said, helping me out with all of the music, the intros. He did the Stable Duel intro. He did my song, That's What G Said. He's got the horse racing intros. He's got all sorts of little clips when I have new segments. It's my good friend. I've known him since we were 14. Joey Cleveland, take it away, buddy.
Better, you want to spread your pony knowledge wide. Oh, better, I got a place where winning ain't tough to do. You wanna be cool, Stable Duel. Your horse racing fantasy comes true.